Hello, tiny friends. Welcome back to Tiny Keyhole Minis. I'm Jolene, and today I'm going to be doing a fun DIY Halloween project that you can do yourself. So I have a cardboard coffin from Michael's and a Dollar Tree skeleton. I have some cheesecloth, and I have my scrap wood. I'm really surprised to have found the coffin because a lot of times when I go into Michael's, they're out of stock. So I got really lucky and I purchased a couple of these. Um, but I decided to do a fun Halloween project because usually when I have a really busy project or I'm just finishing up a long project, I like to do something fun to come down from that. And since it's Halloween, why not, right? So I'm going to start with a base coat of black acrylic, and I'm just going to give it one coat since I'm going to be covering this up with the wood. This is also a really great way to use up some of that scrap wood that I had. Um, if you've seen how I've done the sewing room floor, or if you've seen the little shelf I made, I'm basically going to do the same thing with the wood and make it look pretty old and aged. So after I give this coffin its base coat of black, I'm going to set it aside and work on the wood. Um, Doing this process with the wood is a little bit tedious, but it is so worth it, tiny friends. If you can stand this tedious process, um, the results are just worth it. They really are. So what I like to do, and these ones I'm using are actually jumbo craft sticks or the big popsicle sticks. Um, I like to cut them with scissors because I don't want evenly measured cuts. I don't want straight cuts. I want them to be jagged and like uneven because it helps to give that aged look and it helps to give natural gaps between the wood pieces. And then I'm going to go in and carve out some notches from the sides and the edges and also little wedges and just cut out little tiny areas from the edges. And then I go in with my nail file and I file in some grooves. I go in with my Dollar Tree poker. I make some wormholes. And this just really does help give these pieces a really naturally old, realistic wood look. Sorry. So I'm going in and I'm just measuring the sides where I need to cut these pieces down. And again, I'm using my scissors. I'm not worrying about measuring or anything like that because this is one of those fun projects to relieve the stress of a big project that I previously did. So I'm just gluing them down with some tacky glue and I'm using my clips to hold them down tight until they're nice and secure. And you can see how they have natural gaps in between the pieces from the pieces being uneven, and that's the look I'm going for. So I'm using my tacky glue, and I'm just gluing these pieces right into place. And I'm going to go around the whole coffin until it's completely covered. But I am not going to cover the bottom because you're not going to see the bottom. So I'm only going to do the sides, and I'm going to do the coffin lid. These little coffins are so versatile. I've seen other miniature artists make shelves out of them. You can make a coffee table out of them. You can make probably a sofa out of it. I absolutely love these coffins, and this is the first time that I've actually got to purchase some and use them. So I'm super excited about having them. I wish I would have gotten more, but I only purchased two and I didn't know what I was going to do. I just wanted them. I've been wanting to get a couple of these for a long time now, and like I said before, they're usually out of stock. So they were on sale. I think they were like half off when I went in this go round. So I got really lucky purchasing these this time of year. But usually at the end of the season, they're gone. These are probably like the first to go. And sorry about my camera. So I'm adding the pieces, and again, it's a bit of a tedious job to prepare these pieces, but it is worth it if you want to go for that realistic old salvage would look. It wasn't really necessary for me to do the ends on these, and I didn't know that until I started adding the pieces that are going to actually cover up the angles, and you'll see what I'm talking about, because you really don't see much of the detail on the ends of the wood, but on some of the areas you can still see them. So it wasn't all a waste, but that step really isn't necessary if you want to do something like this. So I could have saved myself some time with preparing the wood if I had thought more about what I was doing, but I'm just winging it. Now I have, these are pictures from my phone, so I'm going into my phone footage because I did not film this, and I have wrapped the mummy with the first layer of cheesecloth, and you can see how fuzzy he is. So I have to tone that down. I've added some Mod Podge and water and made a solution, and there's probably a little bit of tacky glue in here. You can use either one, but I'm going to cover him up and lay all that down so he doesn't look like a furry monster. So this is what he looks like. He's soaking wet right now, and that really did do a good job at getting rid of all those flyaways, and he actually now looks more mummified, and he looks like he's casted in some sort of cast. So I'm going to set him aside to dry and show you what I am doing to the next wraps. So he's going to sit over here with the coffin and dry. I've already given the coffin a first layer of wash with gray acrylic and water. And now I am aging up a few more of the wrap strips, and I am soaking them in a solution of just acrylic, paint, and water. And I think the color that is deep ochre. And then I wring them out really well, and they're still wet, so I go in with just a few different colors, and it helps to have those colors bleed, but I'm not adding the glue solution because it's going to be stiff enough when it dries with just the paint. So they're dry now, and I've already begun to add some of the wraps, um, and this is what he's looking like. I did make sure to leave some of his bones exposed. I wanted some of that to be seen. I'll be going in and painting that so it doesn't look like just plastic. Um, but I'm just going to play with some of these wraps, and I'm not going to be putting all of these on. I'm actually only going to put a few on, and just at this point, you just want to take your time and play with it and see what looks good to you and how you like it. So I'm not doing this in any specific way. It does take a little bit of playing to see what you like and, you know, how you like it to look. So this is what he's looking like, and now I'm going to go add some of those dirty rags on him. And what I've done is just cut the cheesecloth into strips and then just wrapped him with the strips. So you can see that they're pretty stiff from the paint, so there is no need to add a glue solution to these because you don't want them stiffer than that. Matter of fact, I'm going to loosen some of these up so they're not so stiff. If you just give them a little wiggle and tug on them and stretch them a little, that'll loosen them up a little more. But I'm going to go in and cut some holes and just make them look a little more ragged and a little older. I think I used, the colors that I used to color these were, I think, raw umber, burnt sienna, and a little bit of deep ochre, and then the dirty water. And that's what I used to dirty them up and stain them. Um, and now you see me just wiggling them and loosening them up some so they're not so stiff. So when I go to wrap the mummy, they'll actually hold tight. And I'm just going to use my fabric tack glue. Now for his arms, I did have to modify those because these Dollar Tree skeletons, they don't really move. except for their legs. I don't know why they make only their legs move and not their arms. So you can see here there's a line where the arm is connected, and I just cut that with a pair of scissors. And then I took my Dollar Tree poker tool and I poked a hole through each piece. And then I added a little pin head inside with a dab of super glue on the end, and I just held it nice and tight until it was secured. And then after I knew it was pretty secured, I went in and moved the arm. So now the arms are movable for the mummy, and his head is a little bobbly, and they all move differently. So I chose one with a bobble head because I really liked how his head moved. But this one didn't have hands, so I had to take the hands off of the one that didn't have a head, and that is because I end up using their body parts for other things. So what I did for the hands was I just cut them off at the point where they were connected to the bone, and then I just glued them into the position that I wanted them to hang, which was downward, like a mummy. And the wrap, the additional wrapping will help secure those joints and where I glued those hands into place. So now I'm just going to go in and play around and figure out how I want the wraps to look and how many I want to add. I did use hot glue to attach his hands, but I used the super glue for the pins in his arms. I don't want to wrap him completely with the dirty rags. I still want some of that white casted wrap underneath to show. So I'm not going to cover him completely. And I do want some of these to hang like you see them, like I've left them so far, because I like those pieces that are hanging. They just give the mummy a more realistic mummy look. But I'm just going in and playing around and seeing what looks good to me. Adding a little bit of fabric tack and pulling it nice and tight. If the wrap is too thick, you can go in with a little bit of that watered down Mod Podge or tacky glue and just use a brush and brush over the areas that you want to lay flatter if your pieces are too stiff. I thought I was going to have to do that with him, but I didn't end up having to do that. So here I'm going in for his second set of wraps. And then I'm going to go in and later on and age up some of that stark white. I don't want it to be as dirty as the wraps I'm adding now because I want there to be some sort of contrast, but I don't want them to look a brand new or stark white like he just got casted because he has broken bones. But I am going to tone down that white after he's completely wrapped. But this is what he's looking like, and you can see some of his bone is exposed. Okay, so I think he looks pretty good. I'm gonna say I am done with his wrapping. Yeah, I don't want to add too much. I think that's gonna work. Now to his coffin, I have already aged it, and I do have a little more shadowing to do with my chalk pastels, but for the most part, this is what it looks like. And if you've seen how I age my wood, how I've done my floor in the sewing room, or how I've done past projects when it comes to wood, I did the same exact thing. I started with a gray acrylic wash, which made that wood look old and weathered, and then I went in with, I think I used the deep ochre for a secondary color, just for another tone, for some dimension. So I think that yellowish tone that you're seeing is the deep ochre. And then I went in with my chalk pastels, my black chalk pastels, and did some aging. I also added the wood pieces over the angles, and that's what I meant by it was covering up the detailing that I put on the ends of the pieces. But there are some of the ends that you can see, so it's okay. I do have some creepy cloth that I aged as well and dirtied up, and I'm going to be adding that inside the coffin. I'm not going to add this much, but right now I'm just testing it out to see what it's going to look like. I will be cutting most of this off. I don't want it to be too bulky or too thick. So I'm going to cut this down. I'm going to use my fabric tack and just add it to some of the areas just to lay down this fabric and make it look like there was something there that he was laid to rest with, that he rotted away and decomposed on, and it's been in there for thousands of years, rotting away with him. Okay, so this is what it's looking like, and um, I think it's gonna work. So let's see what the mummy looks like inside this coffin, and just to make sure it's not too bulky and it looks pretty good. So I'm going to move on and paint his bones that are exposed because I need to age them and make them look a lot older. I'm also going to tone down that white so he doesn't look so brand new. Okay, I'm going to take some acrylic paint. I'm using deep umber and burnt sienna, and I'm just mixing them together, and I've got a detail brush and I'm just going in to darken up his bones. I probably should have mixed this paint with some Mod Podge to help it stick a little more to the plastic because it will rub or scratch off if I end up scratching these areas, but hopefully he's going to be put and he's not going to be moved or played with, so I'm not worried about it too much. I'm also using a little bit of black acrylic as well just to darken up those tones. So I'm just going in to all the areas where his bone is exposed and just darkening that up. I do end up giving it a couple layers, so after this first layer dries, I go back in just to darken it up some more. And I'm making sure to do all the areas that are exposed. So I know there's a couple spots on his head that is exposed that I almost forgot. I also went into his eye socket. One of his eye sockets are exposed, and I darkened that up a little bit as well so that you can see there's a socket there. And that's what I'm doing for this part. Okay, now to tone down that white, I'm going to use some watered down deep ochre and a little bit of the paint that's on the paper, and I'm just making sure that I'm really watering it down because the more that it's watered down, the more it's going to bleed and it's just going to spread out a little better and it's not going to be so dark. I just want to tone it down. So I'm just mixing these colors together and just spotting them. I'm not doing all of the white. I'm just going in some of the areas just to bring some of that down. I do want to leave some of it just for added contrast. So I just want to go in and dirty that white up just a little bit more. I want to thank you all for watching. I hope you enjoyed this video today, and let me know what you thought in the comments below. If you would like to try something like this for yourself, or if I've inspired you to do some sort of Halloween project with these little skeletons from the Dollar Tree. This little guy is super happy. He is doing his Happy Monster Mash dance, and he is excited to be alive again. So for the last step, I'm just going to go in and do some touching up on the painting of his exposed bone areas. But if you are not subscribed and you would like to see more, please subscribe to my channel and don't forget to hit that top bell notification button to be notified every time I upload a new project. I want to thank you all once again for joining in with this fun little Halloween project. I thought it would be fun to try and build him some sort of ancient crypt. So I'm going to try and do that and upload a part 2 to this. I don't have any experience building structures, and I'm going to use what I have and try to build some sort of ruins of an old ancient crypt so that he can remain in with his coffin. And I thought that would be pretty fun. So stay tuned for that if you'd like to see that. I'll post that as a part 2 to the mummy in the coffin. And I have no idea what I'm going to do, but I'm going to try and figure it out. I do have some materials that I would like to use, so we'll see how that goes. I have some ideas and I have some materials that I thought would be perfect for the look and the idea that I have, but I have no idea on how to construct it. So if you all have some ideas, definitely let me know in the comments below. Okay, tiny friends, that is all I have for today's fun project. I hope you all enjoyed it. Please give it a thumbs up and click that like button. Um, I feel like he's too cute to be a monster, right? Until next time, tiny friends, I hope you all have a lovely day, and I will see you all on the mini side. Bye-bye.